as we go through. But my name is John Bass. I'm the Chief Operating Officer with AESA, and I'm glad to have each of you with us today as we have a session on how to implement remote learning during a pandemic. Unfortunately, I know this is a time where many of our members and school districts are really scrambling to deal with this crisis. They're trying to find new remote ways to reach students, to be able to teach students. And days like this have probably not been seen before. And we're very fortunate at AESA to have partners that are willing to step up and help us with this. We know that as an organization, our role is to help our members who serve their school districts. And we're very fortunate to work with Microsoft, who has really stepped up to the plate on this one to be able to help us. They have some resources they are wanting to share with our members today, and we're so thankful to have them as partners. And we know that as you go through these times, you're looking for resources everywhere that you can. So we hope that through this today, you'll see some new resources, some ways that can help. As I said, Microsoft has really stepped up to be able to help us on short notice with this, and so we want to thank them. We have with us today from Microsoft, Mike Thompson, Justin Chando, and Jerry Gillespie that will be presenting today. And at this time, before I turn it over, one last thing I might mention is down at the bottom of your screen, in case you're unfamiliar with Zoom, there's a Q&A folder. If you have a question that comes up during the webinar, if you just click on that and type in your question, we'll try to get to as many questions at the end of the session as we can. We may be able to answer some of them even as we go. So please don't hesitate to use that resource, ask questions, and we'll try to work them in as we can. But this time, that's enough from AESA. I'd like to turn it over to Microsoft. Mike, thank you for being here with us. And at this time, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, John. So my name is Mike Thompson, and I work on the Microsoft Education team. And we're going to have a couple of folks here today with me. We've got Justin Chando and Jerry Gillespie, and we all work on the education product team, and we're helping build and help make sure all these resources are available for districts for remote learning. And we have an agenda here on the right-hand side, and we'll be going through a whole set of things, but hopefully you'll get a sense of holistically what we're doing and thinking about and how we can help, and then specific resources and tools that you can share in your districts, share with schools, and share with educators. And I'm just gonna start right in here. So just at a high level, when we're thinking about this and how we'll break it up today, is like who's impacted? All these things are happening across the country. And so obviously educators and school leaders and administrators are impacted to figure out how will we do this in the new world. Students are impacted, but also families are obviously impacted. And then also, do we have tools for IT administrators and deployment, and how does this all get set up remotely as many schools across the country are scrambling? And we've tried to make this also so that we know that not every school is really large and has an entire IT department. And many of these resources and tips will be things that you'll be able to do in smaller districts and in rural districts and in medium-sized districts. And before I hand it off to Jerry Gillespie is going to start us off today. But just as a high level, we have, and there'll be more at the end, but these are 4 really important resources that we think everyone should know about. There's a high-level Microsoft remote learning website. There's a Teams Education Quick Start Guide, so just to get up and running quickly. We also have a remote learning community with people from all across the country and world, educators and administrators working together, collaborating with our team, getting questions answered, getting support help, a large community of over 3,000. And then there's a aggregated resource collection we'll talk about. I'll also just mention that this entire deck, this whole PowerPoint you're going to see, every link, every example is fully public and available. John is going to be sending out a link to everyone on the call or who's not on the call. So the link to the PowerPoint with the resources and deck is going to be fully available. And with that, I'm going to let Jerry Gillespie take over the screen, and actually I'll stop sharing and she's going to share her deck, and she's going to start talking about her experience because she's one of the most experienced in the entire country on this. She's going to talk about what they've done in Idaho.
Jerry, if you could unmute.
There we go. Okay. Yes, I was trying to find that. Thank you. I'm so glad I'm here with all of you today. I am new to the education team because I'm transitioning from being in a district leadership role. And here today, I'm here with you just as a fellow educator, trying to help support you with what everyone is going through with right now. How do we leverage these digital tools in the sense of urgency to reach out for instruction for our students, make our teachers feel like they can do this, and what does this really look like? So I have been using Teams for the last 3 years as a district administrator. I've been in education for over 23 years in all various roles, including teacher in the classroom to administrator, principal, academic coach, and then for the last 5 years, I've actually been the administrator of digital integration for the largest school district in Idaho, and with a little over 41,000 students. So we have had to actually put out teams and help with remote learning at scale. So I'm going to try and cover that and help as much as I can, and share some resources and knowledge and some tips and tricks with you here today. First of all, looking at Teams, this is just one way that in our district, we were able to help support and send out, using Teams, some support to our buildings and to our administrative staff and to our teachers. Because of the autonomy of Teams and the way that it works, you actually can be able to set up teams to offer some of that training and professional development that is so needed right now. And that staff support. There is ways for community connection. I've had a lot of requests and questions from districts all over the world about how to reach out to their community and their parents and give messages. I know Justin's going to show you and dive into Teams and give you some great demos about how to actually use this tool to reach your community. It's a great tool, of course, for collaboration right now because you're going to need to be able to do that remotely. Administrators are going to be able to contact their staff. And of course, instruction, most importantly, we need an outlet to be able to reach to our students to be able to continue that education and keep the communication flowing. Right now, really what I want to stress to you is when I rolled this out with my team is really thinking about where the teachers are or the staff or the buildings or the administration that you're trying to support. If you're at the district level, really we're starting down at that whole process of how do I set up a school? How do I set up a classroom? What is it that I need to do? They're really in that productivity area of how does this work to set up a classroom? How do I integrate this tool? How do I set up a team? What does that framework look like? They're trying to look at collaboration. How do I reach out to my staff as an administrator? I know as a building principal, I would want to be able to reach out to set up staff meetings still, be able to have that communication link between my district office, between my teachers. If you are supporting schools and having to do this, you're going to want to be able to show them exactly how to do that using Teams, and we'll get into that in the demo. And then also progressing through that whole, what is the expectations of what we want this to look like while we're using these tools in remote learning. And then comes to that instructional support, because that's really what it's going to come down to. What does this look like in a remote learning environment? How, what does assessments look like? What is it? How are we going to get students the instruction that they need? And we are here to help you at Microsoft. I am here also to help walk you through these different areas, but I know as far as you're sitting in trying to figure out how to support your districts and people that you're representing, I know these are some areas that are definitely you are trying to come across and create a plan for. Just keeping in mind, because I know we really want to get to students, because that is, of course, why we do this. It's why I've been here for the last 23 years and what I do. However, we really need to know it's the learning for all, and that includes the adults. So if we are setting up kind of structures or plans to begin remote learning, we really want to think about how do we support our teachers and our buildings and our administrators in this time where we have really been in this sense of urgency. How do we do this without what I like to call support teachers without tears? Because right now, the focus is really on not only what we're trying to do for our community and our learning community in our schools, but other areas around, even with our family, working remotely. It's a complete change of our life right now in how we're delivering our instruction and what's happening. Go back to what you know. When I talk to instructional coaches, technology coaches, administrators, district office personnel, first thing I say is, you know your people, go back to what you know. When you're trying to assess out there the needs that they may have, really look at where their strengths are. We've had some times where we've pulled some self-assessments, some post-assessments, just sending out some, if you can, send out some assessments to get where they're feeling, some questions. I know there's a sense of urgency right now, but use that knowledge that you have of your community and the people that you support, and really rely on that to be able to collect that information. If you're anything like when I was a district administrator with 57 different buildings, if they're anything like my district, everybody was in a different place at different times. So being able to have a plan that has different areas of that emergency level or needs is really some key indicators as far as how this will progress. I get asked the question a lot lately about how long did it take to be able to get a building or to get a classroom or to get a district up and starting remote learning and up off the ground. And really the honest answer is it depends on what level they were in that cycle, dependent on the urgency. However, there is something that I can say made a huge difference, is following a progression that really needs to happen, helping leadership where they're at. If you are at the district level, helping the leaders of your building. If you are at a service agency level, helping those building or those district administrators or those superintendents or anything at that leadership level, being able to give them some tools that they have where they're able to produce some information for the consumers that they have below them. So it's almost a progression of what I like to say, a production of information, because on the bottom there's going to be people to consume the information that needs to be able to push it out to whoever they need to on that next level. So for example, I as a district administrator would have support for my building principals that I needed to support being at the district level, which in turn they of course needed some materials to be able to support the teachers, because then the teachers were going to be able to support the students. Really what we started at, and this is all examples from my district, this is not anything from Microsoft, but just me trying to share what I had as an educator and what worked in our district. Really starting that first stage of going through our administrators, pulling that together, getting that collective efficacy there, and then going through to build capacity, finding some support personnel within those areas of either schools, district areas of agency, people that could be your early adopters that could support, help, and build capacity within that community. We really tried to stay away from words that would put extra pressure on people about needing to have a trainer, but started using words like support personnel. And they really were people that were fellow teachers helping each other, fellow administrators that were helping each other, train them, and then we went through that staff. I have seen districts in the last couple of weeks go through this process really quickly, just because of what they needed to do to be able to get to their students. Expectations are key. Really trying to identify those clear expectations for where you want for your staff and your students. Be thinking about what the remote learning might look like. Is it going to be a set schedule that you plan or envision of people scheduling classes, or do you envision more of an asynchronous where students are able to come in, do some work, and then there's feedback back and forth, but really setting what that expectation is of what you want that to look like. If you're in a position where you're supporting others making these decisions, this is something where you're going to want to bring up and ask what they're envisioning as far as what they think this model might look like. And then modeling those expectations. You really want to be able to jump on these tools and be able to use them with them, make them feel comfortable. A lot of PD sessions that I've done with supporting remote learning are actually like this, getting on a call, having people use the tools so that they can feel comfortable in a safe place. While that PD is going on, it really goes a long way because it's being able to use these tools in application while you're learning them. And then really planning that support level at all levels, depending on where you are. If you're at a district level, administration level, coaching level, just really looking for that network of being able to create that team structure of people around you. And use that collaboration and that network of support. Like Mike talked about, he's going to talk about further links of how to get that support from Microsoft, how to get that support from other teachers and administrators and buildings and district office personnel and around the world. And so really knowing that you have people out there that are willing to help you, are in the same boat with you right now, and we hope from here, after we look at some demonstrations, to answer some of those questions about how you can bring this into your community. And I'm going to stop sharing here.
Great. Well, thank you, Jerry. So I'm going to take over now. My name is Justin Chando. I'm Principal Product Manager on the Microsoft Education Engineering team. And, you know, we've been on this journey with all of you, obviously with COVID-19, and it has been some of the most stressful and challenging weeks that we've been through over the past couple of weeks by helping our community around the world shift to remote learning in a very short time frame. So I wanted to share a bit about what we've been doing at Microsoft EDU with schools globally, and kind of share what's been working, what others are doing, and how many have rapidly made this transition. I'll share a couple of those case studies as well of just what people have been doing in the recent weeks here. You know, Jerry had a great introduction there of just how she's done it at West Ada and has been doing it for the past 3 years of having and delivering digital instruction, having that learning take place, and now many of us figuring that out for the first time and coming to remote learning. So Teams for Education, I'd love to give you a background of what exactly it is. Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you've actually used it in the past, but you know, as far as what it does and what it can enable as a completely free tool for any school around the world, it's certainly something to bring awareness to. So Teams is really that digital hub. It brings conversations and content and live instruction and meetings together all in the same place, both for student to student collaboration, student to teacher collaboration, but also enabling your professional learning communities. So having teachers be able to collaborate with each other, especially when we're all remote, how more important that is to enable teachers to have that shared collective efficacy. You know, we know it's one of the top predictors of student achievement, having teachers align and be on the same page. And it's never been more important for that to happen when everyone's remote and digital. So Teams really brings all of those worlds together in a single digital hub. You know, certainly with making that shift, and if you're on that journey alongside many of us, we're seeing these new challenges that are coming and taking place. between bringing up and building your online learning infrastructure. I mean, in many cases, we're working with schools that don't have accounts, that don't have things set up in the right way, that we're enabling and partnering to make sure all of that just works so that students can log into a digital system like Microsoft and have all those tools just work together. And of course, when we're all remote, we'll need communication tools. We'll need the ability, not just synchronously like what we're doing now, but also asynchronously, that we're working on something and coming back to the class and engaging online and offline and being able to be there on every device. So when you also don't want to forget about inclusivity and making sure that everyone has that similar access. So we'll talk a little bit about accessibility and others. So, you look at what teams can do for remote learning. I'll just share a little bit just on the remote learning section of it. Certainly Teams has this online meetings capability that you can bring 250 people together in a single online live lecture or class session. And many being able to do this right this second, where you can engage people directly. Your students can share their content as well as you and engage in this digital back channel discussion alongside the teacher working with each other. Announcements in the team structure that actually really make it simple to share what's going on, maybe set up the day, talk about what we're actually going to be working on today. And of course, it has things like assignments and grading and digital notebook tools, and I'll take you through a little bit more. So I'll share a little bit more about the capability, and then we'll go into a live demo so you can actually see what Teams is all about. And please do ask any questions in the Q&A box along the way, and we'll try and make time to answer that. I'll share a couple of quick stories of something that we've seen with remote learning in Teams through some really big scenarios here. So the first is what we've really been inspired by is a professor from the University of Bologna in Italy. And he shared on Twitter how the school moved to 90% of courses online just in 4 days, going from no Teams usage to 90%, which, the school like this in its 900-year history has never had to do. So, I saw that and was just incredibly inspired to say that, wow, people are actually figuring this out and doing this in a rapid time frame, and how amazing that is to be there alongside them and partnering with our team. Second is the president of community in Madrid, who just announced the other day that Madrid is not stopping classes and they're going to continue online learning with 1 million of their students jumping on Microsoft Teams. So really having that capability enabled there is incredible. And the last one is Miami-Dade, one of the schools in Miami-Dade, but the whole Miami-Dade County that has now turned on Teams for all of their students to deliver remote instruction and also engage with professional learning communities. Those are 3 massive ways that Teams has been there to help very, very quickly. You look at this, they didn't have it on a week ago. So it's really an incredible, what I've learned from talking to many school leaders around the world over the past few weeks, starting in China and in Asia, and now, of course, around the rest of the world, is that no one has a plan. And when you ask what their plan is, they'll laugh at you. So we're all in this together, figuring this out at the same time. So I feel like the more we can just share what has worked, what is working at scale, but also for individual instruction, the better we can all be in adapting here in a very quick time frame. So with all that, what does it actually look like? What is a class completely remote on Teams actually enable? So of course we can have meetings, we can schedule our class sessions inside of a team or just standalone. So I can create a quick meeting, we can meet now, it can be more of a scheduled formal thing that we're all coming together at 9:15 and everyone joins at the same time. The other thing is that all of these live class sessions could be recorded, and they get recorded directly to the cloud, so safe and secure inside your organization. But what's nice is for students to go and recall that lecture or class session, and it even logs all the transcription automatically. So everything that you said during that class session You can search back and say, hey, where were we talking about soil science? And it goes directly to 14 minutes and 58 seconds. And that's exactly where the teacher was talking about that. Really powerful. Of course, sharing content, so sharing screens like we're doing here, or PowerPoints or presentations or videos, even with system audio so you can hear the video. And many of the schools we work with have a learning management system like Canvas or Schoology or Blackboard. And we've recently introduced some great integrations with those three platforms. And we're really excited to make it simple to create these class sessions from inside one of those LMSs. The other thing is, you know, as we move to remote learning, we're going to need more ways to engage our students. You know, a live session is great for when we can all get together, but also that conversation doesn't have to end when the live session does. So if we can enable rich discussions through our collaborative classroom in Teams, the team has a structure for communication and a feed for the conversation to always continue, with channels that segment that conversation and make it very simple to see what topics we're talking about. And to stay organized, every student can get a built-in OneNote class notebook with personal note-taking space that's all housed in the same team. And of course, because it's inside of the Microsoft ecosystem, all of the Office 365 apps that you know, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and others are deeply integrated into all of the applications with live editing, co-authoring, and many other things. And I'll show you some of that in a live demo. Of course, we also have assignments and grading, a rich and robust assignments tool where you can distribute learning activities directly to students, or even individualize learning to a certain number of students. You can grade with rich feedback and rubrics and criteria, and in line have a very iterative feedback loop so that you can make comments digitally, send it back to students. They can work on it some more and submit it for additional review. So many of this is really powerful to enable on Teams, and nothing is more powerful than the accessibility options. So things like the immersive reader that is built right into Teams, both in conversations, but also in files and resources, where it completely enables this very inclusive view to read aloud, to have things like line focus to really enable students with learning differences, and even students like with dyslexia and others, so they can better enable their reading, a proven method to improve reading capabilities. And many other things with our accessibility tools built into Teams, like live captions in meetings, where the captions will automatically display as the instructor is talking, and many other things. And of course, it's a rich ecosystem. I'll show you some of these apps that have been integrated in it, from Quizlet and Nearpod and Pear Deck, which is an amazing interactive presentation tool where we know when it's just a one-way discussion like this, wouldn't it be great if these PowerPoints were interactive? Pear Deck's a great way to do that. Same with Nearpod, which many of you know, and all these apps being integrated into Teams make it simple to deliver to your students. Okay, so there's a team for everyone. I'm going to show you some of these teams in a live demo. I have a Teams for Education account right here. So this is what it looks like when you come to Teams. I'm a teacher inside of Teams for Education. I'm able to really see all of my teams directly here. And if I want to create a new one, I'm starting a new class, I have this little join or create team button, and I can create a team right now. So let's do that. You see here, it gives me an option to have a class team, a professional learning community, or a staff team, and even an other team. So there's many ways that we can all engage together digitally. You know, when it's a staff team, it's school leaders talking with their principals or any of the faculty that want to just get together in their own group, but while also having a space for teachers and students to communicate together. And that's what that class team is. So let's create one here. Let's create an Algebra 2 class. And just like that, we're going to create the team. We're going to be taken to the ability to add additional students. So if I know my students, I can add a few, you know, like Alfred, and let's see, who else do I have in here? Obviously, you can set up many of your students here inside of Office and have them join, whether it's through here or even with a join code, to very quickly get students inside here. I'll also mention, from creating classes and adding enrollments, many of our schools have a student information system that houses all of that data with all the users, all of the classes, and the enrollments already set up. We have a tool called Microsoft School Data Sync that makes all of the team creation, the user creation, and those enrollments happen automatically inside of Office. So you hook up your data platform, it's integrated with over 200, 150 plus student information systems that can import all of that data and then automatically populate class teams for students and teachers to work on. So, again, that quick enablement of teams, the easiest and fastest way to do that is through a tool like School Data Sync. Okay, so we've created a team. Certainly I wanted to show you that to get quickly students inside of this team, I can generate a team code. So maybe the best way to do this might be just to share this 7-digit code here with my students and get them to join directly right away as a quick way to get everyone in. So now that I have all of my students in here, what can I do in the team? Well, first and foremost, you might want to create an announcement to get everyone on the same page. So inside of announcements, inside of a new post, I can create an announcement. So I can welcome everyone to my class. So we're enabling our digital learning journey here. We're all joined this team. I can post an announcement really quickly. I can even give it a nice background. Let's see, this is a fun background just to announce that everyone's here. What I've seen on Twitter from people joining remote classes, and some of the first things they do in engaging their students, they might talk about how we're going to be doing this together. What's our class culture in a digital way? We set class rules in person. Well, we definitely would want some of those rules and guidelines and ways of which we want to behave and be together digitally. How do we think deeply about how we engage as humans in a digital only environment? So you might set some of those guidelines, or maybe you'll talk about what the day's activities will bring. So at 9 o'clock, we'll have our class session. From 10 to 11, you'll work on a project, etc., so that students can see exactly what they need to do. So I'll just post this so you can see what it looks like. So there's our announcement. It can go out to everyone. Next, I want to talk about actually scheduling those live class instructions right in your team. So I have this algebra class and we want to all meet digitally. So one nice thing is that we can all meet right now. So imagine you're in the middle of doing something, you wanted everyone to just jump on. I can click meet now and we can all get on right away. Of course, the other thing we could do is schedule that meeting. So in our Algebra 2 class, I want to meet in a class session, and we're going to do that tomorrow, and we're going to do that at 9 o'clock in the morning. And it's going to be an hour long. I could leave some additional details, etc. But I can send that out, and now what we've done is we've scheduled that class session right in Algebra 2, so that all my students will have the invite on their calendars and they'll be able to jump in on that class session right inside of our team. Now, when the class session starts, I can come in here and start the meeting, and we can all join, and I can record that meeting. We can actually join that right here. You can see I can join as Arden. I'll turn this off since I'm in another call, but we can all join our live session. Of course, you have all of that capability like chat and screen sharing and all of the different resources that we can add to that meeting. We'll also mention things like the ability to record, right? And having that recording saved right in our team. Because we scheduled that meeting inside of our class team, that recording stays right with all of the other content. So we'll get rid of this meeting, and that class session ended. You see, the team is great for discussing and for sharing lots of resources. You know, every team has a files tab. How many times have we wandered around looking for that one file? Well, Teams makes that easy to have all of your files in one place, all that content and resources that you want to get with your students. In staff teams, when it's just your faculty getting together, this becomes really powerful to align content and resources in one place. Here in this class team, I have this automatically generated folder called class materials. And class materials is that place to put files and resources that you don't want your students to edit. So, you know, this could be a syllabus, this could be a reading material, anything like that. And I have all of that capability right here. What's nice about Teams is how we've integrated all of those other Office applications directly. So I can create a new Word document right inside here. It saves it directly into my folder. And then it opens up Word directly in Teams. I don't have to download a file. I don't have to open another application. I have the full Word capability right here. So hello, it's going to do a little restart there. But what's nice is we can have this file, we can have this resource right inside of the team, and we can all edit as well. So it's very simple to have that in there. Of course, as you go on, you can add lots of different resources in here. If you use things like Google Drive, you can add a Google Drive document as well, right into the Files tab, even things from Dropbox or Box, etc. So lots of different capabilities you have right in the Files tab. Next, along the top here, and what you see is that I actually have a range of tabs. So what's nice about the class space on Teams is you can customize your team exactly for how you want to collaborate. So I have things like the class notebook, assignments, and grades tools that come automatically with every class team. And you can edit those as well. So by adding additional tabs as well, right? So I have things like Flipgrid and Pear Deck and Beetle and Quizlet and lots of other resources that are integrated into Teams right out of the box. So I can add and customize my team exactly for how it fits me. The class notebook, we won't go into too many details, but it gives every student a personal note-taking space and a way for you to quickly distribute content and resources that you want them to work on as well. So this is also really impactful for math and science classes where you need live digital inking for ink-enabled devices where you can draw right on the live digital document, and great for leaving feedback and resources along the way. Next, you'll see the assignments tab where it's very simple for a teacher to send out a learning activity and share it directly with all of your students. So I'm going to jump to one of my classes that I already have some assignments built out. Here's my physical science class. I've got the assignments tab, and I have a bunch of assignments that are already sent out. You see that it's really easy for me to create a new assignment, create a new quiz, and it pulls from Microsoft Forms, which is a really simple way to create an auto-graded assessment. So with multiple choice, free response, lots of different question types. And then once I've created that form on Microsoft Forms, I can really easily pull it into my team to assign it and grade it to my students. Let me show you really quickly Microsoft Forms just to see how you can really get in here today. I'll create a new form, and I actually want to make it a quiz. And so this new quiz right here, you see I have the choice, text, rating, dates, Likert question, file uploads, rankings, lots of other ways you can create and customize your team, your form, and have it auto-graded here. And I can start creating a question. And you see one of the nice functions of Forms is that it actually uses AI to predict some of the answers. So it'll predict a bunch of potential incorrect answers alongside the correct answer, and you can mark that. It works great for lots of different questions. It also is really powerful for math questions where you can type in an equation and it'll solve the equation for you and also come up with multiple incorrect equations right inside of forms. So you can build out this auto-graded assessment, and once you've done that, you can share it directly inside of your class team in the assignments tab. Okay, wow. Lots covered. Now, of course, you can create a brand new assignment. You can send it out to your students. I'll show you one of these assignments like the oceans essay, and I've set some instructions, I've set some reference materials, and I've customized what I want my students to work on. So I say they want to work on this Word document and a couple of other things. And it makes a copy for each student so they all have their personal working space right inside of the assignments tab. The other thing is that I can customize how I want to assess my students and make that very clear and transparent so that everyone knows how you'll be assessed on the actual learning activity. So this is something that I've customized with a rubric. I've shared the criteria and standards directly on the team's assignment. And we'll use that to actually grade and review. So I'll very quickly go to one of these students. I'll see her work as well, and then be able to actually, she hasn't turned that in yet. If I have one that's turned in, here we go. And something like a make code assignment as well. I won't get into details there, but you see how we can actually review our students' work alongside giving them rich feedback so that they can see and work on their work. You can see it as they're working on it, and you can leave feedback directly inside of Teams. Here's that rubric I showed you in the assignment itself. I can customize that and grade it, grading and calculating the points alongside there. And they can see exactly what they need to work on. So this comprehension, they needed a little bit more help there on their comprehension. And maybe I can ask my student a question like, how might you improve your comprehension? And if they submit a new version, maybe they'll improve on that scale. Okay, so I showed you a number of the functions. There's lots that you can do in Teams, as you can tell, and we only scratched the surface. But if you're just getting started, you saw how you can create a team today. You can actually invite your students in a multitude of different ways, whether it's automatically via your student information system, or whether it's through a join code or adding them manually with your students. And then once you have that class created, you can schedule meetings, live class sessions, engage in digital discussions and resources, and have a rich conversation, an ongoing conversation with your students, all together collaborating in a digital space to build that class community in an online world. So those are some of the features and functions I wanted to cover with Microsoft Teams. I'm going to stop the screen share there. See if I had another slide or two. Yes, I do have one more thing I want to talk about. So many of our customers that we've been working with recently, you know, they have a system already in place, and they want an easy way to get you know, their students and teachers into Teams to deliver these live class sessions that we showed you. And one easy way to do that, just this week, we announced new integrations with Canvas and Schoology, two of the top learning management systems. So schools that have this can install these apps today, and your teachers can start creating meetings directly inside these other platforms, and you can get right into that live class session directly. So really exciting new integration, some links there of how you can get started. So I'm going to now turn this over to back to you, Jerry, and you can take us through some resources and content that are available to everyone.
Thanks, Justin. And I'll be sharing my screen now. Give me just a second. Okay, actually, let me get back to the right spot. So we're going to wrap up here with a lot more resources because we want to make sure that people have the resources they need, and this deck is going to be public. So first off, we're not going to have time to go into the details, but we have started at Microsoft, the product team, myself, Justin, Jerry, and a bunch of our colleagues started a global remote community or remote learning community. We've invited educators across the United States, across many countries of the world. Everyone is in a big team, and we're helping people out. There are questions. People understand how to deploy, how to get up and running, what are best practices. I have questions about how meetings work. It's really great. The product team is in there helping out. There's educators collaborating across the globe and across the United States. So there's a link in here on how to join this remote learning community. And we're over 3,000 educators in this one place. So it's very powerful. And we encourage all the districts across the United States, come join us, get your questions answered, let us help you out. The other set of resources that I think many of the ESAs would be interested in, we just launched these today. If you're talking or you want to send information to other school leaders who are trying to figure this out, we just created a shifting to distance learning guide for school leaders, and it's publicly available. The link is in here. And as you can see, I'm not going to go through these, but it's really meant for other leaders to have a structured program. A lot of the things that Jerry was talking about earlier, we've put together in this set of 6 or 7 slides that you can freely distribute to anyone you want. So the day 1 to day 2, establish digital foundation. Day 3 and 4, train your staff and students. Day 5, start running your classes. And we've put a set of links that are very prescriptive. Day 1 and 2, step 1, step 2, step 3. The links, the information are all here. Days 3 and 4, phase 2, what do I do? Again, it's very prescriptive because we know right now schools are trying to figure out exactly what should I do and in what order and what free resources do I have. Everything you're seeing here is free. There's no Microsoft costing of money. This is all free software and resources. And then phase 3, start running your online classes. How do I do that? So these slides, we encourage you, please use all these slides here, the 5 or 6 I just showed. You can use them with whether small, large, medium, or rural districts, fully available. And we encourage AESA members to share them broadly. The other part we haven't had a chance to talk about too much, but there's the family impact. And so Microsoft yesterday released our brand new Family Learning Center. So it's in our free educator community. Educators can go here, parents can go here. We have different activities at home. Maybe the school hasn't started any online learning yet and you want activities for families to do together. How can I help my kids up and running with some of the education we're looking at? A ton of great resources. This just went live yesterday. Again, share these links out with people who might be desperate for information. We didn't talk a lot about Flipgrid today, but probably one of the fastest and most popular growing apps in the world right now is Flipgrid, which is a video response tool. And man, in remote learning, this whole video engagement can be really powerful. So Flipgrid also just put out their Learning from Home blog. And so they have all sorts of resources, materials, tips and tricks on how to do, if you're learning from home, Flipgrid has a bunch of great information that's publicly available. This is also available on that site I just mentioned, that Family Learning Center. There's a lot of great Flipgrid materials out there too. So as you're transitioning to remote learning in your communities, make sure to include the family component because that's really important. And related to that, while we're not going to go into it today, inclusion, accessibility, students with disabilities, that's going to be one of the hardest topics and hardest challenges. And I think Microsoft has, not that we have all the answers, but from this area of inclusion and accessibility, we have a rich set of tools and capabilities that are free and digital. So if the student has to learn at home now and the paraprofessional's not at school and maybe the speech pathologist isn't around and students with dyslexia can't get the same level of support that they could before, we have many tools available. These are all the categories across Microsoft. So learning, visual, hearing, mobility, neurodiversity, and mental health. But dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, ADHD, autism, blind, deaf, and hard of hearing, we have all sorts of free tools available today. They're all documented in this link here. So this link for some people is going to be like gold because they can find, most people aren't aware of all the capabilities, but they're already built in. They're already there. They're already free. So share these links. And for the inclusive classroom itself, which again, we're not going into detail today, but we have some really powerful resources. reading, writing, math, and communication. So inclusive design, dyslexia, dysgraphia, could be visual impairments, could be mobility impairments, could be low vision, deaf and hard of hearing. We have tools and resources that are free and available right now. This is not future, this is right now. And one of the best things you can do is make sure in this deck you share these interactive guides. Like I said, I'm not going to be going in detail today, but we have free online interactive guides. So your teachers and educators might say, this sounds great, but I don't, how do I get trained? What do I do? These guides here are 8 to 10 minutes long. So inclusive reading interactively walks you through how to use the immersive reader, how to use the built-in speech to text or word prediction features that are built in for writing, how to use our inclusive math features, how to do parent-teacher conferences remotely when the parent doesn't speak the same language as the teacher. We have all these free tools, and these resources here walk you through how to do them for free. So we highly encourage these resources to be shared out. I can say right now, as someone who's been involved with Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn getting at resources, the hunger for information right now is nothing like I've ever seen. There's a huge demand for helpful and useful resources that are available today. And so that's what a lot of these are. And then lastly, IT admins need guidance too. Whether you're just starting to get ready with Teams and school data sync for remote learning, we've got a get up and running guide, fast deployment guide for remote learning. Just because the IT administrator is more technical, when they're not on premises, it can be harder for them to get up and running with these tools if they haven't had experience. So we've put together very specific step-by-step, hey, my school of 1,000 needs to get up and running with Teams and school data sync. How does the IT administrator get going with that? And it might not even need to be IT administrators. For some districts, just like Justin showed, you can get up and running with Teams tomorrow. But if your district is larger or you need more assistance, there's guides here that help out IT admins. And so with that, we're going to wrap up, and we'll have more Q&A in the last couple of minutes, but there's a lot of resources that I want to make sure people are aware of in this free PowerPoint deck. So to summarize here, our main site, our remote learning site, is right here. We've got a fantastic Teams Education Quick Start Guide. It's a PDF that is available, goes a lot of the things that Justin showed, but in a very short and consumable Quick Start Guide method. Our remote learning community, we encourage anyone around the country, join our community, learn from others, work with our product team, get help, get questions, get recommendations. This link here lets you sign up for our community. And then we have a resource collection as well that has a lot of the things today in one nice place in a Wakelet. So all of the next steps in terms of the deck today is right here. So take a picture of this, write it down. John is also going to send this link out with the full PowerPoint along with today's session, which is recorded. Reach out to Justin and Jerry and myself. Our emails are here. Reach out, ask us questions. We're happy to help. Anything that you need assistance with, our team at Microsoft is here to help and listen. And we know this is a pretty interesting time in terms of the speed at which things are changing. And so we are here to help. And again, all the resources, I won't go through each of them, but the full set of resources, how to get community and help, family and IT administrator resources are in this deck. All the inclusive classroom and accessibility resources are in this deck. So everything that you need is in this link right here. And with that, I'm going to turn it back just for the last couple of minutes to John. I think if you have questions or wrap up or comments, and Justin, Jerry, and I are also happy to ask additional or answer additional questions.
All right, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. I think that the questions and answers that or the questions that have been submitted have been answered, but please feel free to keep submitting those. And if you aren't able to get those in today, please send them to me and I'll make sure that we're able to get those answered. But I would like to thank, again, Mike, Jerry, and Justin for the information. I know at AESA, we've begun using Teams, and it's an amazing product. And so if you're not familiar with it, we'd encourage you to really look at that, as it could be an excellent resource for you as you begin to work in this remote area with students and staff as well. I did want to make one last mention. During this time, AESA is looking for other options as well to be able to help you. We have another business partner, ClassLink, that is going to be hosting a webinar Next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern, we'll be sending out information to everyone that was on this webinar, as well as other people throughout our organization. It's another free resource that you can use through the end of August that helps manage the different apps that your school may be using, so that single sign-on can be free and you can still monitor that usage and so forth going forward. And so mark your calendars for next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. ClassLink, which is a single sign-on provider, will be with us as well to be able to share some of the resources that they have. We'll also continue working with the business partners that we have and others that have good information to be able to share. We also want to encourage everyone on here to go onto the AESA All Community platform. If you go onto our website, if you look up at communities, join the community, share resources, find resources there. This is an excellent opportunity to be able to share and learn things from each other. Our members find that they learn best from each other. So please go to our community, sign up if you've not already done so, and begin sharing resources that you have, and you'll be able to discover resources that maybe you haven't seen yet. But thank you again, Microsoft. We appreciate the relationship that we have. Thank you to each of you that have joined today, and best of luck. I know these are trying times, but one thing about ESA is they always step up to the plate and serve their schools, they serve their school districts, and they serve their students and families. So best of luck, and thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next Wednesday.